So what I've got here for you is a design that is mostly finished. We're nearly ready to present it to the customer. I'm just going to use the new tools in version 22 to sort of speed up getting it ready. These tools would definitely very aimed towards productivity improvements. So hopefully they should be able to save you a lot of time in your daily work. So first thing to introduce is tags. Tags is so handy. I use it with almost every design. Maybe it's just because I like to put in a lot of accessories in my design, but this can be so useful. It works very similarly to layers in Photoshop programs and things like that. So our first example of how I'm going to use this is this skylight here is really muddying up my plan for me. It would be a nightmare if I wanted to make adjustments to this island. So I'm going to use tags to help me with that. To find the tags, it's literally just in your bars here. We've got home, search, favorites, and tags. And this button at the top, click to manage tags. By default, as you enter anything into your plan, it will put it into one of two categories, base units or wall units. However, if I click manage tags and then the add button, it's going to give me the ability to create extra categories and I can move items between them. So I'm going to make a category just for my skylight, press OK, click OK, and now I've got this empty category at the bottom here. If I select my skylight, right click, and go change each items tag to, I can select skylight, and that's now popped it over. Now the reason for doing that is because it means that I've got these options here, visible or hidden. And what it allows you to do is to put items into your design that you can then hide from the plan to help you with designing. Pretty straightforward, but so useful. And I'm going to show other ways in which it's handy. For example, this island here. Now that I can get to it without getting the skylight in the way, maybe I want this in its own section. So if we go to click to manage tags, click add, I'm going to create an option called Island 1. Click OK, click OK. And now if I highlight all of these, right click, change each item tag to Island 1, that's going to pop these into this first island. However, maybe my customers come in and said, I want this massive, glorious island, and I know that their budget's not going to stretch that far. So I'm going to hide this island. I'm going to stick in the most uninspired island you've ever seen. I'm going to get 1,000 units, pop another one on, and this is going to be Island 2. Very, very boring. I'm going to go click to manage tags, choose Island 2. Oh, if you name something wrong, it's easy enough to just delete and add a new one. Click OK. And now I can choose which island I'd like to be represented on my plan. Of course, I'm just going to go change each item's tag to and pop them in. I'm sure that you all noticed I did that wrong. And there we go. So I can now swap between which island is visible. There is another reason why this is incredible. If I go to pricing, ArtiQuote, it tells me that I've got some hidden units. We'll come back to that. If I now go to select catalogs, for an example, let's just quickly price this up. Click OK, click OK, and I now have my price of 8,426. Remember that number, 8,400. If I go into here, turn off Island 1, put in my customer's cheaper option, and now I reprice the design, it tells me that I've hidden 10 units that could be priced. So it's warning me so that you won't accidentally forget to price certain items. And now I price up 6,038. So maybe my customer's budget was £6,000, and this can help me to stay within what they had available. However, I think that Island 2 is kind of rubbish. So there's another thing I can do with it. If I click this button here, select only items tagged with Island 2, that's going to highlight everything in Island 2. And if I want, I can just press delete on that and remove the entire thing. Much better. Let's pop Island 1 back in. Next, let's get the job just a little bit more finished for my customers. I'm going to go to my favorites library. Now, if you're not using your favorites library, this was added obviously long before version 22. But if you're not using it, I recommend using it as much as possible. For a bit of lighting, I have mine already saved in 4 spots, 6 spots, or 8 spots should fit quite nicely in this design. So there's my spotlights done. And accessories, I do the same thing. So I'll load in some accessories. Got a plant, a chopping board, a food mixer. I've got some stools, but no breakfast bar. So here's a little trick if no one's ever had to do this before. I want to do a little breakfast bar overhang at the bottom. You could go around drawing all your own custom worktop and everything, or I can simply highlight the units that are going to be affected, right click, custom panels, create worktop. And now if I press F1 to edit, click OK, and edit points, that's going to allow me to customize this. I always recommend this will be split by how many different parts it is. So this is actually a different line to this line. So just click simplify before you do that. You see now the dimensions have changed, they're all solid lines. And I can grab that line at the bottom and drag it down. And if you want, you can even click on the corners, and on your keyboard, it's F1 or F2 to apply and adjust the radius. If I wanted to, I could pop some small radii on the corners, so we don't bump our heads. There we go. Exit editing, breakfast bar overhang, quick and easy. Pop a couple of stools on the end now. And let's have a look at what we've got so far. But before we do that, make sure I've got my skylight turned back on. So this is going to take me down to my next step, which is actually getting my renders done. The job's got all of its accessories in. I've got everything looking the way I want it. So now I want to actually produce the renders for my customer. Obviously, I'm pretty sure you all know rendering takes up sometimes the biggest part of the day. There is a way to speed this up, and that's what we're going on to next. In the bars at the top, we have window and then set up camera list. This allows me to set up different viewpoints already saved. So let's say that this is my first view for my customer. I click add underneath camera, and I can give it a name like main view, click OK. Now I just click and change my angle, or use the arrow keys to move around. We'll call this, click hob, and maybe we'll spin over here, and we'll call this island. However, if you need to rename something, you can click on it, click rename, and I can then say, actually, this is island and fridge. So these can be renamed. You can also click clear, which will delete all the views I just did, or save. We'll save these as default camera views to use again. So they're pretty self-explanatory. This is where this all of a sudden starts to pay for itself. I've set up my different views, and you can do as many as you want. And now I can click Start Batch Render, which is going to create all of them rendered. However, if I want to keep working, click on the top one, and we have the background batch render, which is so useful. So if I click on this, go to my desktop, I'll make a new folder, call it webinar, click open. I'll save these as webinar as well, click save, and it brings up all my options for how detailed I'd like the render to be. So I can set my resolution. The bottom one, which is the one selected by default, is my screen size. So it'll render at this size. The others are quite self-explanatory. If you're doing incredibly high resolution, 4K is going to be probably the most you'll need, but 8K is there just in case. And then underneath, we have the style of the render, so photorealism or HD. If I click HD, I can whack this up to high, highest, whatever you want, because it's going to go in the background for me. Click OK. And this is going to send those 3 viewpoints to what we call the background renderer. And it does exactly what it sounds like. It takes those jobs and starts to render them for me while I'm waiting. It's very handy. I can close this. I can go back to my plan. I can even close my camera list, and I can start working on the job. So let's say that we've got this design here, but why not select the island? So we'll go to our tags, click island 1 to select all of that. Let's hide that skylight again. There we go, select island 1, right click, edit materials, and I'm going to change the material of everything in island 1. So instead of gray 18, let's put a bit of color into the design. Go for blue. I'll choose a matte finish. Click OK. And now I can go back to Window, set up camera list, click on the first one, click Start Background Batch Render, go to my desktop, choose my folder. We'll call this Option 2 Blue Island. I can save these, start the renders. So to show you what's happening, if I open up Window, Show Background Renderer window, I'm now rendering, well, I've already done 3. These are my final 3. So I've rendered 6 images. 3 of them are, oh, here they go. Right, so the first 3, these ones here, are with everything, all the color it already was, gray. These bottom 3, I've changed the color of the island. And you can do this with door changes, accessory changes if you want. You can, different options, like those 2 island options. It means that you can render all your different permutations that you need to show the customer if they're struggling to make up their mind without having to affect your workload particularly. So it's going to keep doing it all in the background while I keep working, which is incredibly handy. The final thing that's really useful about these camera views is RTVR. This is how you would set up a walkthrough in RTVR. So if I click RTVR, allow it to load up, and we are asking my internet connection to do quite a bit here, so we'll see how it goes. It's already saved as webinar, perfect. I click Export New and OK. And in the background, this is going to start exporting for us. It's going to bake in the cloud. And because we've set up that camera list, we're going to be able to fly between those preset viewpoints automatically. So if you've got RTVR and you're wondering how do you do those fancy flying walkthroughs, this is how. And we'll let it do it. We'll come back to it later once it's finished baking. We'll see how it turns out. And this is the first time I've done this room. I produced this room for you today, so we'll really see if it looks good. What's next on our list? We have labels and arrows. We go into plans next. I may be asking a little too much of my internet connection. There we go. So we'll open that screen. Perfect. Back to our plan. And this is a great thing. I can keep working on this design, even though I'm rendering, I'm producing an RTVR, it's all being done for me. Right. Back to our homepage. Now I'm going to start producing plans for my fitters, for plumbers, electricians, and we've added in tools to let you do this. In my little box at the top where we add our shortcuts, I can go to here and I can type text. You type the word text, press enter, you get a text box which you can add to your plan. So let's say that it's unit codes for now. We'll go UD60. I can click select font. I can change the font whatever I want, change the size of it. I can change the color, click OK, click OK. And it gives me my font, my little annotation, which I can add in. Let's say that, well, that's a dishwasher, but we'll pop that into there. Say we've got UD60 here. Also, what we've had pop up there is one of our images is finished. So I can click yes. It's going to open my finished image for me. So that all happened in the background while we were still working, which is great. Not the worst kitchen I ever designed. Also with these text items, they work just like the other items in ArtiCAD, which means they interface with tags. So if I create a new tag group, and I like to call this one Planetations, and you click OK, swap this over. To remember to do that, you just right click, change tag to, and now I can have all my plan annotations in a different tag group. You can also minimize these to make them easier for you to manage. So we'll just have these ones open for now. Next, something that has been asked for a while, and they're so handy, lines. If you type line into this box, press enter, you can add a line to your drawing wherever you need. We have arrows, standard solid lines, normal or dotted. You can set your thickness. So if I make this like 16 pixels thick, we set a color. So let's say that this is for some plumbing. So we'll go blue, click OK. And to draw the line, you just click set. And then we can click and drag, and we can draw lines where we want. Obviously, these work in conjunction with your text boxes. So I could say that this is a, I don't know, soil pipe. I'll be honest, I'm not a plumber. I can pop this in. drag that over to here. I can add another line, and maybe my underground lines are dotted or something. So I can change, oh, there we go, line. Let's put this one dotted. Again, I'll make it 16 thick. Color, let's make this bright red. Okay, click set. And I can draw a line through here. And maybe this is the wiring for my hob. And again, you just select the items that you want, right click, change tag to, change the tag group, and you could have a fitter's plan, you could have a plumbing diagram, electrician's plan this way. You can have them all saved under different tag groups. And the other thing that's very useful about these, if I go to page layout, click insert plan, all of these tag groups are selectable when you create your plan. So if I don't want all of this mess, I just want my base units, my island 1, my planetations, and my wall unit. I'll set my scale as 1 to 0 so that it's variable. Click OK, and it's going to load them all in for us. Now, obviously, you can still use arrows and lines and text. Like if I want to put a line into using page layout, I can. However, if you put them in through page layout and you need to resize or move around your plan, suddenly you've got to move all of your arrows again. By having them as part of your plan, that problem is solved. So they'll move with your plan, which should be incredibly useful. Let's see how our RTVR is getting on. And here we go, it worked. So you set up your different viewpoints, and you'll notice the names that I gave to them, main view, hob, island, and fridge, these are actually, well, my main view, it seems I was out of the room, which you don't want in RTVR, but it saves them as these views. You click on the flashing icon to stop or start the walkthrough. You click on them to fly between those particular areas, and you can also move around with the W, A, S, and D keys. You can really fly around the design. And Q and D to go up and down. And then here's one we've done earlier for you. So a slightly larger example of a fly through, and it just flicks between them all for you. My images are coming along. There's our newest render finished. And those are the core things that were added in version 22. So just to recap, we've got the tags, which hopefully you'll be using every single day now. The camera list, which is so useful for setting up your background renders. And that's the next thing, background renders, and then labels and arrows in order to finish off your plan. I'm going to pop over to you guys now, see if we've had anything else that's been asked through. You can simply go to ArtiCAD, click Help, and SketchUp Warehouse, and it's going to load it up for you. My tip for finding good ones is search for what you're looking for, click on models instead of products, and then choose popularity. Quite often brings good ones. So you generally get higher quality 3D models. Sometimes you'll get entire scenes, which aren't as useful. But there we go, we start to get the much nicer ones. Also, our marketing team do have a selection of SketchUp models that they may be able to share with you if you ask nicely. Brief recap of the background renders, absolutely. So all you do, let's do it the other way. We go to camera view this time, go to window, set up camera list. This is the most important part for finding background renders, set up camera list. And you can set a camera view, click add, give a name for the camera position, so island 2, click OK, and you'll see it actually saves the camera angle when you're in this mode. Just click on the top one and click Start Background Batch Render. It's literally as straightforward as that. The important part to remember is Window, Set Up Camera List, and that will help you find how to do your background renders. We've got another one finished, and this is with our blue island option. I think I preferred it all in grey. Adding to a window to a wall, that's an old school one. If you put a wall in and you want to add your window after the fact, click on the wall, click the magic wand, and wall helper. And this allows you to add a window, door, arch, serving arch, buttress, recess space, or a regular buttress. And I have only ever used window, door, or arch. I don't know of many people with serving hatches. it will automatically, it will set the width of the window that you're adding in as 1000 mil, and it will then split the difference either side. So if you want to manually, you can override this. So let's say we want 800 from the left and a 600 mil wide window, click OK, and it's going to pop that in for me to the wall that I had selected. To move an item into a different tag list. Yes, absolutely. So we go to tags, let's make a lighting list. Manage tags, click add, lighting. Oh, we'll call it lightened. You just highlight the item that you want to move, right click, and change each item's tag, and then change which you'd like it in. So I'd like it in lighting. Here's an interesting one. Say that I want something to be in more than one tag group. I can also, let's say that I want all of the lights to be in our first lighting group. So let's also change these to lighting. But then I'd also like some in lighting option 2. So 2. Let's say that our alternative option is we will have half as many lights. So we'll have these two, right click, add tags, and I can add lighting option 2. And I'll have this one and this one, add tags, lighting option 2. So now this item here appears in 2 tag groups. Yes, I believe you can do different custom attachments because when you go to it, you have your profile option here. So I've got my choose script option. It would be the same on a custom cornice, custom pelmet, etc. You'd have your option for different. I've done it on custom worktops for islands where you have maybe an ornate edged island and a square edge on the standard units, things like that. Background render once more, no problem. So the important thing to remember, window, set up camera list. Then you set up the camera views either using VR mode, where you'd be rendered in VR and moving around between the different angles. Once you're happy with the angle that your camera's at, you click add, enter a name for the camera position, which is what we've done already, and you keep moving the camera to a new position, saving the new angle each time. Then you select the top one, click Start Background Batch Render, and the rest is self-explanatory from there. Click Start, choose where you want to save them, choose the resolution and the render quality, and click OK. If you want to do a quick custom worktop, you can highlight the items that are affected. I'm just going to remove the custom plinth from there. Right-click, Custom Panels, Create Worktop. And that is it. What it does is it pops an artificial worktop on. To edit, you click F1 is the quickest way to make sure you're selecting the right thing. You can double-click, but when you have multiple items there, I find F1 helps to be specific. Click OK, edit points. And now, let me close my camera list for you. I can click Simplify, and I can drag this line down. If you need to be precise, you can zoom in as well, and you can move your screen around. To do that, you hold Control, Shift, right-click, and drag up to zoom in, left-click to move the screen. And you can drag this out. You can change the fidelity of it. At the moment, I'm set to 100mm snap. If I change this to 20, then I can move in 20mm increments. And I can pop a radius on, or I can right-click on that point, go specify radius, and I can tell it, actually, I only want a 50mm radius. So that's how you'd be able to do that. Oh, the skylight. So actually what I do, because I can never remember where they are, I search for them. I just go lantern, and they're under lantern. So I've got ceiling lantern small, large, and a 3 meter by 1500 one. In this case, I used a large one, which is 15 by 800, and I actually changed it to 3 meter by 1500 because I like the style of this lantern. And that is it. It's as simple as that for popping it in. It automatically goes in at the correct height for your ceiling and everything. So easy peasy, that one. You set the default location for saving plans. Under your current room system INI, go to Files, and you can choose where your files are going to save. So by default, it's going to save them in plans. But if I go to my desktop, click here, Control C, and then paste into here. Oh, I don't want that. I want the whole directory, sorry. Let's choose a folder. There we go, sorry. You need to choose a folder, and it will give me C:\users ArtiCAD desktop. So now I can go Control C, pop this into here, and that will change where my plans are going to save by default. You just type the directory root into here. Can I rotate a unit to 45 degrees and drag and drop? Yes, you can. It's just ever so slightly fiddly. Yeah, that's a terrible example using that. I'll use a unit with the back to it. So let's take this one. To rotate 45 degrees, you click on it, hold Shift with your keyboard, click and drag. It requires you to know your angles. So you'd have let's go all the way around to 0, then 45, then 90, then 135, and 180. And so you do sort of have to add it up yourself. But yes, you can rotate to any angle that you want. Turn off dimensions of wall sockets. I think, let's pop one in. I think it's an option under more. Let's go to socket. I'll get a double socket. And just because our plan is getting cluttered, I'm going to stick it down on this wall. Mine's already turned off. So yeah, seems doable. Mine's already off. When you go into more, and then more again, you've got options of whether you want it dimensioned or not. So if you click no dimension, that will make sure it doesn't get dimensioned. So no dimension to it now, it's just a socket. And of course, you can also select circuit symbol, and it will appear on your plan as a circuit symbol, as opposed to a box. How do you edit dimensions in elevation? Doable. First things we have to do is go special, edit current room system INI, elevation, and make sure that this box is ticked. You can do it without, but it's helpful to have that ticked. Click elevation, and now that I've got draggable units on, I can click on a unit, and I can drag it around if I so want. Or you can click on a unit, press F1, and you can edit the dimensions while looking at it in context. So I can move position, I can change dimensions, or I have a feeling that I've misinterpreted your question, and what you really meant is how do I delete some of these in page layout is the solution to that one. So we go to page layout, let's delete that. We'll pop in an elevation. And in here, I can select the units, move them, or press delete, and you can manually delete elevations, dimensions that you don't want. You can also, with the little arrow next to elevate, click elevation options, and this allows you to click where it says include dimensions, click settings, and you can change a bit of what comes up in the dimensions, even the font as well, which is quite nice. So there is quite a bit you can do with dimensions and elevations. Thank you everybody for this. It's been lovely to meet you all, and good luck. Produce some great drawings. Share them with us. We love seeing what you produce. Tag us on Instagram. Thank you everybody. Take care and have a lovely day. Stay safe.